welcome. This is Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights, here with Grant Wescott from COMC. We're going to talk about his origin story, but first, thanks sponsors. Thanks especially COMC.com, who's lent Grant to us for the next 15 minutes, as well as Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, Huggins Scott Auctions, as well as Upper Deck, Topps, and Panini. So Grant, welcome to the show. I'm really looking forward to hearing your origin story. I know you're a senior guy at COMC. We want to hear about that, but how do you even come up on the radar? How did you get started as a collector in the first place?
Yeah, well, thanks, Jim, for having me. It's actually a big honor for me to be talking to you and being here on this podcast. So I imagine that my story, it's a lot like many of your listeners that are my age. I'm 36 years old. So back in 1990, my dad took me to Roadrunner Sports Cards in Federal Way, Washington, which is no longer there. I don't think that they survived the baseball strike. However, we got me a pack of 1990 Donruss and opened it up, and I was hooked. My older brother collected. He had, Griffey rookies. He had some nice stuff. And so I was always chasing Griffey cards back then. And my luck wasn't all that good with wax. It never really has been. So I don't think I pulled that many. But, I collected with my older brother and also my younger brother, who's closer in age, and a friend in the neighborhood all throughout the 90s. We were looking up our cards in Beckett. We were trading cards with each other and basically just use cards as currency like we were kids. So that's kind of how I got started out. And then, like a lot of people, toward the end of the 90s, I was going into high school and just kind of lost touch with the hobby for a little while. Years later, my neighborhood friend gave me a call and he said, "Hey man, I'm buying cards again." And just kind of came out of nowhere. And he was into collecting, so he invited me to go to one of our local shows. And I bought a box of 2007 Bowman Chrome. Did not do well on that either, but I was pretty quickly hooked on everything. And I kind of found my niche at the time. I was really rediscovering all of these rare 90s inserts that I basically didn't even know existed when I was a kid. These are cards that just were not obtainable to me. And a huge shout out to the Super Sweet 90s thread on Freedom Cardboard forums. They had a wealth of knowledge and a lot of inspiration for me to kind of continue my collection. So that's kind of how I got started again with the hobby. Are
you talking about those ultra tough cards? I mean, the metal gems and things like that. Were you a high-end
exactly
from the start?
Yeah, so I mean, these are cards. So when I got back involved in the hobby back in the mid 2000s, that's when I started kind of going after Crusades and the PMGs and all that kind of stuff. I didn't even really know about it when I was a kid. I mean, I wasn't spending a lot of money on cards, and there was no chance I was pulling those things. So they were a little listing in my price guide. That was pretty much the only exposure I got to those cards growing up.
I know, but they were so tough. I mean, how did you have the thought to go after the toughest, the rarest? Because if you bought then, they've wildly gone up in the interim 12 or 13 years.
Yeah, so I bought some of them and have since probably sold some or all of them. So it was really my friend told me, he just started buying. That's what he gravitated to. He started telling me, "Hey, did you know that these fractal materials are made out of wood? They're die cut. They're numbered to 20." I'm like, "I'd never heard of such a thing. That's amazing." And so I started kind of going after that. It was just, it's what seemed really interesting to me at the time, kind of a mix of nostalgia and then sort of rediscovering the hobby that I didn't even really know about when I was younger. So they've definitely skyrocketed over the years, but that was kind of me getting back into the hobby back in mid to late 2000s. Yeah.
But you were, again, now you're with COMC, and I don't want to jump ahead to that except to say that the strength of COMC, they have a lot of really great cards, but the strength of COMC is in the long tail. Are you saying that all these millions of cards that are on COMC, are you still mainly interested in the best of the best?
No, not at all. I would say that I've probably eased off on the 90s a little bit. My collecting kind of goes in different phases, and it's really kind of just depends on what I'm interested in at the time. So that was then me rediscovering things. I was actually, pretty much priced out of the Griffey cards I wanted. So I was chasing Buhner. It was still obtainable, but I could kind of get these cool inserts that I didn't know about. But I found a lot of the cards on COMC. I checked out my cards at the time, and this is before I worked here. I actually found this site, and I just found it was super easy to buy these cards. I would just, as I saw them pop up onto the site, I'd snag them and just ship them later. So it was something that really, I'd say that COMC definitely helped me kind of getting back into the hobby, because there's just such a vast, I guess, depth of cards, just different kinds of cards that were available to me, and I could kind of carve out my niche on what I was interested in.
So you had this was before you were working there, but you're so aware, and you're in the area. You're in Washington State, right?
I am, yeah. So I was using the site. I didn't really know much about really the service too much. I knew that I was able to buy and to flip on the website, but I didn't know too much about it. And then I discovered that they were about a half hour from where I was living, and I was interested in a job. It looked like they were hiring, and came in for an interview, had a second interview, and actually got to sit down with Tim and hear his vision and his passion for everything. And I was basically sold. I just knew there was something special about what they were doing. Something that was really unique and different in the hobby, and it was really exciting. So I just kind of, at the time, I was just wanted to play any part I really could. And since then, I've had the opportunity to do a lot of different things here. Right now, I'm in business development, but I've helped with software. I helped with various initiatives. I've identified cards. I mean, really, just about every area of the business I've been able to kind of participate in one form or another.
Most people are either kind of data people or relationship people in our industry. It sounds like you're a little bit of both. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've always been a little bit of both, of kind of everything I get into. So yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoy the data and all that, but for sure, like talking to collectors, talking cards with people. And I'd say even with my collecting, it's really the same way. I'm not pure collector and I'm not pure investor. I've always kind of found this kind of happy medium between those two things. So I guess, it kind of capitalized on the whole trading aspect of trading cards, right? I mean, I think that these cards that are made to be traded, there's some emotion in there, definitely with the sports and the players and our heroes that are represented on them. And then there's monetary value that's involved. And I like the balance that it strikes. It's always been really attractive to me, ever since I was a little kid, actually, with my little Beckett price guide. Absolutely. That's what I was interested in.
So right now you're doing business development, and is that kind of the B2B aspect of trying to establish relationships with sellers or other key players in the industry? What business development, how does that shake out?
Yeah, definitely. So it's going to be B2B and B2C. I mean, we have our partners that we've been working with, and it's also looking for just different ways to build upon sort of this crazy, beautiful machine that Tim built, 12 years ago. I've been with the company now for 8 years as of last month. And so we're always looking for kind of just new opportunities to help our customers out. And so one of the things that we did earlier this year, late last year, we got started, was introducing the COMC Elite service. Traditionally, I think when people think COMC or they think check out my cards, they say, well, that's a great place to sell your low-end cards. And it is. There's no question about that. But I think that there's a lot of kind of shared benefits for even dealing in mid and high-end cards with COMC. And that's what we really wanted to focus on. And so we introduced the COMC Elite service. It's got a little bit more white glove treatment on the cards, and also COMC auctions with eBay. So now people are able to list their cards on eBay just really effortlessly. And so a lot of this year has really been focused on building that out and listening to our customers and building some relationships. The team over at eBay has been really great to work with. They've been really supportive of what we've done. I mean, one of the cool things is we take, eBay auctions, which, most people are familiar with, and it's just a great platform to sell cards at auction. And we're like, well, what could we do to help improve that? And one of the things that we were able to do is allow people to purchase cards, win cards at auction, and instantly transfer them to their COMC account, whether they want to, they want to flip them or they just want to ship them later. Giving that kind of flexibility. We're always looking for kind of other things that we can do to sort of shake things up and make it a little easier for our customers.
So you're in your business development role, are you saying that what gets you charged is kind of the strategic aspects of that, or
absolutely, absolutely,
kind of tactical and strategic thinking of how do we want to shape this relationship with eBay to make it work for all of our stakeholders?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, when I really just kind of crystallize what everybody wants, it all kind of comes down to that transaction, right? Like that's when that transaction happens, the buyer's happy, the seller's happy, COMC's happy, in the auction scenario, eBay's happy. So we really just want to kind of see, like, how can we create more of those transactions for people where there's these kind of win-win situations. And so just kind of thinking about more ways to do that, listening to our customers, what they like, what they don't, and just, kind of trying to improve on this model it's been a really cool opportunity for me.
How do you, how do you want customers to be in contact with you? Can you give your, how you'd like any listeners that are curious about this Elite service that maybe haven't tried it yet to, how would they get in touch with you, or what's your preferred one? And plus, I'm just wondering what is your listening posture? Is it Twitter? Is it other social media things? Or how are you staying in touch, and how do you want people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, good question. So we are on social media. We have channels on Instagram. We've got our Instagram channel where we're always listing kind of new cards, especially some of the higher end cards that we can feature on there that come through the door. So you can follow us on Instagram. On Twitter, we're still at Check Out My Cards, also on Facebook. if any of your listeners have any high-end cards that they want to get the most exposure on, they can send us an email at auctions@comc.com and send a photo or some photos of these cards that you're interested in selling, and we'll get back to you and basically just kind of figure out what ways we can give you the most exposure.
The auctions, the eBay auctions that you've already started, are you already getting really good traction from your current customers, or do you see this as an expansion into, I mean, what's the strategic initiative here? Because it seems like a lot of your current customers hopefully are taking advantage of that.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of both. So one of the cool things again with auctions is that we already have a pretty strong inventory. I don't know how many millions of cards we have right now, something like 6 million different cards or something. And so people can just send those to auction directly from their account. So it's actually one of the benefits of the Elite service is you can send your cards in, sell them for a little bit. If you're not getting the price that you want, or if you just want to liquidate, you can just instantly send it to auction. We list it in the next round of auctions the following week. But we've also gotten a lot of people who have, they may have thought of COMC as, a low end kind of high volume platform in the past, and they've tried us out for auctions, and we've gotten a lot of really good feedback. A lot of people are really enjoying it. So it's been a healthy mix of both, but I think there's still people that are still doing it themselves or doing it the hard way, and we want to help them out.
Well, I'm a satisfied customer. Actually, I shouldn't say satisfied because I'm always looking for a little bit more. It's not your fault if I have cards on COMC and they don't sell. I don't sell out every month, so I don't want to create that expectation. But generally, if you price things fairly, they'll eventually sell. That's been my thought. And on the higher end stuff, what I'm wondering, this is my last question for you, that is that I have a card on my COMC account that is pretty rare, and I obviously have a fixed price on it. And I'm wondering if I should move it to auction, because then I get maybe more eyeballs or more urgency, and I might even wind up getting more in the auction format than my fixed price, which is not it's what I think it's worth, but it's possible. Would you encourage me to go the auction route that I might even do better? I mean, I'd certainly be liquidated. I get money out of it. What do you think?
It depends on the card. I think in a lot of cases that's the case, but you could have a really good price on your card right now at fixed price, and it's going to take that one buyer to come along to see it, and then they're going to want it. So I would say that there's a lot of cards, especially if it's something that's really relevant right now in the hobby or, in sports. It's a great time to put that up at auction. But there's going to be other cards that are maybe a little more obscure, or, it's just going to have a lot more of a niche market. And for those, sometimes you get 2 or 3 bidders that are all kind of battling one another. But there are definitely certain cards that are still very high value, but maybe aren't quite as liquid and maybe aren't best suited for auction.
Thanks, Grant. Time's up. I'm not going to say what the card is, but it would have been a card that you would have been interested in when it was one of those kind of cards you were talking about. So we'll
talk later.
We'll be back again tomorrow with another episode. Thanks, Grant Wescott. Thanks, COMC. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Be back tomorrow with another episode.